Good evening, everybody. And welcome to, we're going to start off with a statutory public meeting before the regular council meeting. So I will call the February 19th statutory public meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. and ask if there are any amendments to the agenda.
Mayor Lawrence, I have.
Thank you. The motion that the agenda for the statutory public meeting of February 19th be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Boone, seconded by Councilor Timpson. All in favor? Online, I see in favor, carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. And we have one item, housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment, Z05-2025. The applicant is the municipality of Sioux. And perhaps the CIO, I could turn it over to you to take this on. Thank you.
Sure. Mayor Lawrence, thank you. So periodically, we undertake what we call a housekeeping amendment to the zoning bylaw. The purpose is to incorporate the various zoning changes that council had approved since the bylaw was last updated. Our current zoning bylaw was approved in late 2018, and so in the intervening years, as council I'm sure will recall, we've made a number of revisions. There have also been a number of changes to provincial legislation and directives that warranted updating our various aspects of the zoning bylaw, and as well as other matters that have come up over the years. What we try to do during these updates is provide clarity, provide additional definitions and terminology so that the document is as easy as possible to use and interpret. However, I don't want to take away any of the thunder from our planning team, so I will turn things over to Jody and O'Care. Thank you.
So before we do, should I go through the confirmation notice?
Yeah.
And then the planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise the public meeting.
Through Mayor Lawrence, notice was circulated to internal staff and external bodies by email. Notice was advertised in the Sioux Bulletin and on the municipal website and social media, and also sent by mail to various agencies and owners of properties subject to rezoning as part of this housekeeping amendment. Notice was also sent by mail to owners of properties that directly abut the subject properties.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
Through Mayor Lawrence, the municipality is undertaking a housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment to update various provisions and schedules to zoning bylaw 85-18. Staff have identified changes that will improve the clarity and interpretation of the document for both staff and members of the public. In addition to the housekeeping updates, staff have also consolidated recently passed zoning bylaw amendments that have been processed through site-specific applications. The municipality enacted zoning bylaw 85-18 on November 21st, 2018. A housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment was passed on August 24th, 2022, which made revisions to the zoning bylaw to improve the functionality of the document. Since that time, staff have identified further changes that will help with clarity, ease of use, and ease of understanding the document and facilitate sustainable development in the municipality. Some of the prominent updates included in this housekeeping amendment are as follows. 1. Updating permitted uses in the airport industrial zone. The current airport industrial zone contains permitted uses that ranges from hotels to airports to light industrial uses. It is the intent of this housekeeping amendment to promote sustainable use of airport lands. A revision of the permitted uses seek to include only uses that are directly related to airport operations. Uses such as commercial storage facility and hotels have been replaced with uses such as air ambulance base and flight training schools. 2. The introduction of a separate zoning for some airport lands. This housekeeping amendment proposes a new airport industrial ground site zone. AG. The airport industrial ground site zone is introduced to recognize uses that are complementary but not vital to airport operations. such as restaurants, warehouse, hotel, light industrial uses, among others. It is the intent of this amendment to rezone airport lands that are further away from the landing strip from the airport industrial zone to the airport industrial grand size zone to ensure that lands that immediately abut the landing strip are exclusively reserved for uses essential to airport operations. 3, updating permitted uses in the local commercial zone and rezoning some highway commercial properties to the updated local commercial zone. The local commercial zone recognizes commercial development. The local commercial zone recognizes commercial development that exists in predominantly residential areas of the municipality. Currently, there is only one property zoned local commercial along First Street. This housekeeping amendment is proposing to update the permitted uses for the local commercial zone to facilitate a rezoning of some select properties from the highway commercial to the local commercial zone within the gateway area of the municipality along Wellington Street. The intent of the rezoning is to recognize and promote existing commercial uses that have developed on smaller lots than required for the highway commercial zone within the gateway area. 4, rezoning select properties from the residential shoreline to residential type 1 zone on Forest Drive. This housekeeping amendment is proposing to rezone select properties with access to municipal water and sewage from the residential shoreline to residential type 1 zone. The proposed rezoning will facilitate residential development on these properties by reducing lot and yard requirements for development on these properties. For example, the minimum lot area for the residential shoreline zone is 1 hectare, while the minimum lot area for the residential type 1 zone is 670 square meters. The intent of the higher lot and yard requirement for the residential shoreline zone is to ensure that waterfront properties with no access to municipal services have sufficient area for the siting of private water and sewer services. While some of these properties are currently not connected to municipal services, any new development will require connection to municipal services. In addition, the proposal to rezone these properties stem from an increase in inquiries on opportunities for new development from residents in these areas.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through my Lawrence, there's none.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from members of the public.
Through my Lawrence, the department received a number of inquiries from members of the public. Most of the inquiries were in regards to seeking clarification on the tax implications of the proposed rezoning for their properties. Staff responded by informing members of the public that zoning does not have any tax implications.
Thank you. The applicant or a representative is invited to speak to the applications. CAO, are we carrying on?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, just to reiterate comments, this is an opportunity to update, clarify, and enhance our current zoning bylaws.
So is there a further presentation or do we? No, thank you. Questions from members of the public? I see none here, so can I forgo reading that? Thank you. First time ever, I think. And shall we go straight to where do we, questions from members of council? Here we are. Sorry, I missed that. There we go. That's one. Questions from members of council. Councillor Costco and Councillor Van Breda, I won't forget you. Councillor Costco.
I would just have a question about Forest Drive, because the water is not on the entire Forest Drive. It's only on the loop. So if all new builds on Forest Drive and then the whole thing is being rezoned, how do they access the water? Because it's not to their homes on the one end.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, my understanding, and the planning folks can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that requirements would only apply to those homes that are currently serviced by municipal servicing. So, but I'll defer to Mr. Brickman.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yeah, the intent of the R1 zoning is for properties that have water, municipal water and sewer servicing that front or mains in essence that front the property, so they have the ability to tie in. If there are areas in Forest Drive that the main does not run across, that would not be part of this.
Questions, council? Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, we're talking about those 32 changes, Zoom. I'm a bit confused here. Yeah, okay, just number 7 and number 9. In terms of the community center, the definition of community center, we should add outdoor recreation facilities, so that they include buildings and so on. And also on number 9, this is not a food bank, and the definition is not on foundation. Where does that put the food bank that's being built?
Through Mayor Lawrence, sir, that was an oversight. We will rectify that for the next meeting.
This is important. This is a draft. And it's coming back.
Yeah, through Mayor Lawrence, because so many properties are impacted, we felt the need to just extend it to March, and there's no major rush on this, and then it gives people who people who are south maybe right now and don't see their mail until later, gives them the opportunity to provide comment.
Comments at the council table will be taken into account as well. Thank you. Council? Councilor Legg, you had your hand up earlier?
Oh, it was just regarding number 9 as well, just food bank, and then it talks about chip trucks and this.
7 as well.
Councilor Van Breda, anything?
No comments from me. The only comment, sorry, this is unrelated, is that the only camera I
Related,
see,
then it's not on the table, Councilor Van Breda. Is it related to this, what's on the table?
a bit, it's just like the only camera I see is a fisheye from Brian's desk. The other cameras are blocked. There we go.
That's your view of the world.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I know that was unrelated, but I needed a moment just to say that.
That's fine. It's housekeeping. That's how it was related. Yeah. Nothing further, Councilor Timpson.
Number 18, garden suite, it seems to be fairly limited because of the time limit on it, 10 years or so. I'm just wondering if that should be a little more flexible given the housing shortage.
Through Mayor Lawrence, it's actually 20 years, but the reality is now with the permissions for secondary dwelling units and accessory buildings, you might not see many garden suites. This is a provision that's been in zoning bylaws in years past before we kind of had permissions for accessory dwelling units.
Okay, so it could be converted to secondary.
Yeah, if it meets the requirements for an accessory dwelling, then it could be permitted as, a permanent use.
Okay.
Anything further, Council? See nothing, then do we go through the conclusion and right of appeal? We do that, okay. This concludes the public meeting regarding zoning bylaw amendment application Z01-2025. If any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of council, just to help me, we're not making a decision tonight, though.
Few more than once, that's correct, but when the decision is made at a subsequent meeting, this information needs to be.
The decision of council in respect of the application, you must make a written request to the planning coordinator. Notice to appeal the decisions of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal must be filed with the planning coordinator no later than 20 days from the date the notice of decision is circulated. The notice of appeal shall be sent to the attention of the planning coordinator, and it must include the following information: the reasons for the appeal and the fee as prescribed under the Ontario Land Tribunal Act in the amount of $1,100 each for the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment payable by certified check to the Minister of Finance, Province of Ontario. And are we doing a resolution?
Yes, through Mayor Lawrence. So at this case, it's just that the report will be received and that staff will bear a subsequent report.
Moved by Councilor Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, staff.
Sorry.
And the confirm-
Just need to do that first.
That bylaw number 13-25 being bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the municipality of Sioux, February 19th, 2025 statutory public meeting be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councilor Legos, Councilor Timpson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Goes a bit differently when the municipality is the applicant. And I will now call the regular meeting of council, February 19th, to order at 5:45 PM. And ask if there are any amendments to the agenda.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, we have one.
Thank you. Motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting, February 19th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Bowen, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And declarations of pecuniary interest.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. We have some minutes to adopt. At the January 15th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes and the January 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Bloom, seconded by Councilor Lego. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the December 17th, 2024 Municipal Truth and Reconciliation Committee and the January 9th, 2025 Environment Committee meeting be received. Moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Bone. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And a motion that the minutes of the December 12th, 2024 and January 9th, 2025 Kenora Home for the Aged Board meeting be received. Moved by Councilor Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Bowman. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. 7.1, affordable housing strategy. Councilor Timpson, Councilor Cassidy, Councilor Legel, yep. 7.2, strategic plan development advisory ad hoc committee. Councilor Timpson. Delegation of authority to the CAO for approval of personnel and health and safety policy. Councilor Timpson. Resident and non-residential boat launch fees. Councilor Legel. Environment Committee Annual Work Plan. Application 7.6, application to repeal deeming bylaw number 16-23 for 1774 to 1780 South Shore Drive. And 7.7, reappointment of Integrity Commissioner. So I have it that we are lifting 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4. And we need a motion that we adopt items 7.5, 7.6, and 7.7. Moved by Councilor Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Legel, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we now have a delegation. Item 8 is the Sports Tourism Infrastructure Enhancement Implementation Study. Presenter is Clark Hoskin from Deloitte. And I'll turn it over to staff to do the introductions.
Thank you, Mayor Lawrence. Thank you very much. And this initiative has been underway for close to a year, and council has received prior updates and interim reports and so on and so forth. So tonight is the presentation of the final report. Staff worked closely with Clark and his team at Deloitte to address some of the feedback we received from council, and especially with respect to the next steps, and really taking a very incremental approach to investigating various options before any major decisions will be made in terms of whether or not a new facility would be constructed at some point in the future. So we really wanted to, and I think the team at Deloitte did an excellent job of sort of breaking all of this down into bite-sized pieces that will that at each sort of decision made point, it'll enable council to say, yeah, okay, we're comfortable so far. Let's move on to the next step, and then more investigations and so on and so forth. Just so I don't forget at the end of the presentation, or if I don't have an opportunity to speak, on behalf of Jen and all of our staff who work with Deloitte, I just want to extend our sincere appreciation for their hard work, dedication, and just how easy they made the process for us and how attentive they were to our needs and expectations. So Clark, to you and your team, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words, and I'll get started and appreciate the opportunity to present to the Mayor and Council for Sioux Lookout. I'll keep a brief presentation tonight and just go over the project, what we've done, some of the key themes, the deliverables that we presented to the municipality, the vision and strategic directions, and then the decision framework tool that we were able to provide. So as you recall from previous presentations to council, it was a 4-phase process that involved the first phase where we did a variety of analyses and research and community engagement, as well as a feasibility study for the pool, and then followed that up with the reporting and the ultimate strategy that was developed. And it's important to note that during this process, there were several opportunities for members of the community to be involved in this strategy project, including interviews and focus groups, as well as surveys to not only the community, but also to far north residents. So lots of public engagement was conducted. Some of the key themes that came out of those discussions included encouraging volunteerism and engagement, investing in financially sustainable infrastructure, and fostering strategic relationships. And I think you'll see how these themes emerge as we move through to the final strategy. And many of the areas of focus were around addressing citizen dissatisfaction, attracting investors, promoting community safety and wellness, but also, apart from partnering with Indigenous communities, also balancing fiscal responsibility with investment readiness for Sioux Lookout. Excuse me. So ultimately, we delivered an interim report, which had lots of detailed information in there, including a market analysis and various other asset reviews. The community pool feasibility study, which is what I presented to you the last time I was here, included cost estimates and government structure reviews and that type of thing. And then tonight, you're seeing the final report that's before you, which is the vision, the strategic directions, and the implementation strategy. So the vision for the final study, which we centered the strategic themes around, is the vision is to develop a new recreation center that is financially sustainable, responsive to the needs of Sioux Lookout and far north residents, and attractive to sport tourism. So that's the vision for the future. And based on that vision, that aspiration by the community, we came up with the 3 strategic directions: collaborate, investigate, and execute. And it's important to note, as was very much emphasized by your staff team, who were fantastic to work with through the process, is the importance of being able to advance this project and this opportunity in careful steps and cautious steps, and to allow for some moments when council can take a decision or take a breather and decide whether or not they want to proceed. And so the implementation strategy has been set out in kind of those stages. So under collaboration, the first stage, that's where you begin the process of hosting discussions with other communities. It'll be really important to understand what other communities in the region are willing to step up and be a part of this process with Sioux Lookout, because it will definitely add value and also share fiscal responsibility with other communities if possible. So facilitating leadership negotiations as part of the next step in that host discussion is important in the collaboration stage. If at the end of the collaboration stage it's decided that the various parties, including the municipality of Sioux Lookout, want to move forward, then you would move it on to the investigate stage, and that includes negotiating the property purchase, not buying, but negotiating, further designing and refining the facility, and then taking really serious steps to advocate for funding from other orders of government, and to develop that important joint business case and budget for the construction and operation of a recreation facility. And again, at this second phase, investigate, there's a moment now where the municipality and other potential partners can take a level set and say, are we ready to move on to the next stage? And if they are, then the third phase is execute. And so that is the phase when there are various community approvals that would be put in place to proceed with the project. So once all of those approvals are in place, which would require council meetings and engagement, then the project could be launched. And obviously there's a lot of other details for launching the project, but suffice it to say at that execute phase, you're actually launching it. And then coupled with that phase would be two things. One would be an investment attraction program, which would leverage the assets and the opportunities that the new recreation center offers the area to attract new professionals, new residents, potentially new industries or businesses, and the recreation center can definitely help with that. And then finally, a promotion of sport tourism. So when the facility is in place, it allows for development of additional accommodation, also promoting the facility and doing bids on different events. So that would be the final part of execute. And so just to finally summarize this, one of the key things your staff wanted to offer council was a kind of a decision framework. And so we came up with this decision tool, which basically just lays out the strategy actions and directions into kind of a decision tree. And so if you make it, through the decision tree to the bottom, you're at the launching stage. But if at any point you're getting caught up in a problematic area, then the situation would need to be assessed. The approach would need to be revised. You'd need to explore some options. Potentially, you would decide maybe not to proceed. The important thing is that there have been various kind of safety valves put into the process so that council can feel more confident about making decisions moving forward. So that, in a nutshell, is the strategic plan for the final report for Sioux Lookout. And on behalf of the team that worked on this project, I just wanted to thank council, the staff team, and all of the stakeholders that we worked with in Sioux Lookout and area. We want to thank them for being so cooperative and putting their information forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And otherwise, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks very much, Clark. I'll go to council and questions. Councillor Timpson.
Were we able to determine what the current facility will cost us within the next 10, 20 years?
Oh, so the cost of the current facility?
Yes, keeping it up, repairs, etc.
Yeah, so the maintenance of the existing facility wasn't part of the scope of this project. We were the scope of the project included doing a feasibility on the existing or on the potential facility that council is considering.
The CIO.
A few note ones, just to thank you, Clark, and just to add to that, staff will be meeting with council in the next couple of months to discuss the current facility, its status, and next steps for that facility as well. This, I think, council will understand that this is likely not an either or situation, but one where some monies will need to be invested in the current facility to continue to do our best to meet the needs. Or council may decide to invest lots of money in the current facility and completely overhaul it, but that is a separate investigation. And we will be meeting with council in the next few months to have those conversations.
Thank you, council. Councilor Cassidy.
I'll just thank you guys for the report. I think it's just you sit on council and you say new rec center and just having the path laid out and all the little nuance that goes into it. And I think it's good. I think it's nice to have for us and for staff to move forward and determine how we want to go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Also, so when we adopt this staff, what we're really adopting is the report and a process.
Few minutes, Lawrence, yes. So the report is being adopted as, yes, we acknowledge the work was done, and we're going to adopt this report as well as you said, a decision tree or decision-making process to help inform future decisions on this large topic for sure.
Yeah, and I would echo Councillor Cassidy's good roadmap for us. Thank you very much. So we see nothing else from council. So thanks very much, Clark and team. And we do, should we do the motion now? Sure. That council adopts the sports tourism infrastructure enhancement implementation study final report as prepared by Deloitte and presented at the February 19th, 2025 council meeting. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any final discussion? All in favor? Councillor Van Breda is an aye. Hands up, please. All in favor? Passed. Carried. Thank you. And thanks, staff. We'll now go back to the items that we lifted. And 7.1, the council adopts the affordable housing strategy as attached to the affordable housing strategy report dated February 2025. And further, the council directs staff to implement the recommended short-term actions while initiating further analysis of the medium and long-term recommendations. Mover to put it on the table. Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson, and discussion starting with Councillor Timpson. Yep, Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Page 49. Didn't see change in zoning as a short-term goal, which I would think do fairly quickly. And then on can't read my own writing. You've written here, fast tracking of nonprofits. How do we do that?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, to speak to the zoning changes, this housekeeping amendment actually has amendments in there to allow for intensification along Forest Drive with the R1 zoning, as well as permitting accessory dwellings and accessory buildings in the R1 zone as well.
Okay. And then I think it's page 50. You know what? I can't read my own writing. Sorry. How would we be able to fast track nonprofit housing?
You know what, she's looking at, sorry. Through Mayor Lawrence, when you say page 50, I think you're looking at the overall agenda packet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't line up with our page 50s and Page 30s.
But I can't read my writing.
About the decision making. Expediting approvals. Like maybe delegating authority to you. Did you say page 50?
Yeah. I think it's say page 50 on the package, I guess, which would be.
Yeah.
And that list.
We don't have the same, but
Really,
different ways that we could do that would be, you'll notice that there is an option around delegating authority to our development services manager for some decisions that relate to housing. So that would just mean that if we received more than one application and one of them was for that type of housing, that we would ensure that that was reviewed first, and that that's where our capacity went first.
it's not saying we should sort of initiate a project for nonprofit housing, but facilitating it. Facilitating something that comes to our attention. Okay.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, all of these actions are focused on collaboration and bringing people together to connect people to the right resources and then ensuring that we have streamlined, expedited processes on our end.
Okay, just needed clarification.
Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, just with regards to the land, so the land acquisition strategy, was there discussion with staff about potentially at least having a strategy to start identifying parcels potentially 2 to 4 years instead of the 4-year plus?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, this is a draft, so for one, council can direct us to change some of the timing of some of these initiatives if they so wish, but we felt that that initiative will probably fall in the longer term impact range because of the time that it would take to acquire land, to develop the strategy and then acquire the land. For instance, if we're looking at crown land acquisition, that takes 2 years before we would have the land. And then there would be further steps that would need to be taken before they would be available to the public.
I guess from my standpoint, I think it would be like, I think that can almost be broken out. So one aspect would be to acquire the land, look at land that is potentially suitable for development, not too rocky, identify those areas, put that in a plan, and then after that, then we'd set out to acquire. That would be my thought, and just curious.
So identify and then
Identify first, look at identifying, and then the acquisition would come later.
Councilor Layden.
I agree with the streamlining of the process that's going to be taking place. Also with the delegation of decision making to the manager of development services. He brings a lot of years of service to this position and has lots of information and knowledge. So I agree with that. And also agree that this is all for short-term recommendations on getting information out to the public regarding secondary dwellings is very important because people don't know the changes that have occurred. As for the last point of alternative construction models, for me, I would just leave that up to whoever's developing. Would be up to them. If this is a model for the municipality when they acquire land, that would be fine. But I also feel that we shouldn't be going out and taking opportunities away from other businesses that want to develop land in our community. I don't know if to me, it's a bit of a conflict. So.
Steph.
through you, Mayor Lawrence, I guess it's more about just providing the information to developers that this is out there, that maybe more cheaper options are available to construct quality housing.
Okay. Thanks. Councilor Bowman and then Councilor Boswell.
Currently, report, we approve an average 21 new housing starts. Projections indicate that we're gonna require an average of 28 new. Is that 28 new additional or 28 in total? Is that 7 additional?
Through Mayor Lawrence, yeah, that would be 7 additional. So the 21 average includes demolitions. So a demolition in essence takes away a house, you know what I mean? So it actually, the numbers are in actuality higher of what we generally do every year. But if you demolish a house, that kind of takes away your net gain in housing.
And I agree with Councilor Lego. Get the information out to the developers, and like a lot of people in town do not know that. Whether the neighbor's gonna be happy or not, that intensification is something the province has located, and people are looking to build homes for their children that are growing up. They're just with the cost and the shortage of property. I'm in favor of, highly in favor of working on this report.
Mr. Constable.
I think the staff have done an outstanding job on this report. I think it's fantastic. And, you know, the education piece, the streamlining, everything, I think it's all in the right direction.
Councilor Van Breda.
Thank you. Also, I just want to say a big thank you to staff for this report. As we know, on social media, housing has been a priority for many people. So I guess my only question is just, once this report is approved, will it be available online, or maybe put out a social media saying that, you know, council and staff, we are listening. We understand that housing is a priority, and that, you know, we're doing, again, like we're doing the best that we can of what we can within our roles.
Yeah.
Few Mayor ones, yes, absolutely. It would be our intent to, not only get the strategy publicized, but as quickly as possible, implement some of the education campaigns around some of the various options, especially with respect to intensification, various types of building materials that are now permitted, and so on. So yes, first step, get the word out that the strategy exists, if it's approved by council tonight, and next, soon after steps will be working on the public education campaign.
Thank you. Council. A couple of small items. Unlike Councilor Timpson, who can't read her own writing, I can't read mine because I didn't write it down. It was in my mind, and now I can't remember where it was. I think we need to be cautious about the metrics and setting goals. And they are goals. One of the ones is reduction in homelessness rates. I recently reviewed thoroughly the AMO report on homelessness in Ontario, and I think I copied a letter that I wrote to AMO and copied ministers, but copied council. I think we're going to have a very tough job in Sioux because of the nature of the homelessness here to end it. So I think that was one that for sure stakes out. I think if we put that as for us to reduce it, we need the federal government and we need 35 First Nations. It's going to be very difficult. So I would just soften that wording a little bit to in my view, and elsewhere where there were goals. I think we're doing a remarkable job doing what we can as a municipality. But so much is dependent on others for us to succeed. That I think we need to not take it all on, and if it's a failure, it's not necessarily a municipal failure. I think this is a great report. I look at the efficiencies that you're looking for, and when I'm in different places here and in other places, talking to contractors, developers, and other agencies who do work here, we are viewed as the epitome of efficiency in terms of like planning and building and those departments. It's a joy to work with us, they say. So we can, and I also listened to the leaders' northern debate, and they were talking about reducing, getting rid of DC's development charge. The Premier said that DC's development charges, municipalities who do that, they're the evil creator of the housing crisis. Development charges were eliminated in Sioux in 2008, I believe, 2009. it is that neighborhood, to try to move things along faster. We've adopted all these things about intensification and densification. We're doing that already, and that you found other ways to become more efficient and reduce the process time, I think is fantastic. You've also, I think, in here highlighted that you are going to go to the public, to Councillor Van Brede's point as well. But I think in the report itself, it talks about getting the word out that these are available, these avenues, and what's available. So I think you've heard Council say good report. I would also ask, is this report, we're adopting it, but there's some sort of, it's a bit of a dynamic report too, that it can change. This isn't, could you speak to that? How is dynamic?
Certainly, through you, Mayor Lawrence, I think that's, like all strategies and goals, they need to be evaluated for their effectiveness over time. And we would certainly intend to do that with this strategy and the goals that have been set out. We hear council's feedback, and certainly I've heard your notes, Mayor Lawrence, regarding the need to carefully look at some of the metrics that we've established, and so we can certainly go back and do that. I don't think that necessarily would necessitate not adopting the strategy tonight. But yes, as we move through the various stages, we will be looking at evaluating their success and adjusting accordingly. If things are going well, we'll continue on. If there are hiccups, then we will adjust, and any major adjustments to that process, of course, would be brought back to council.
Very good. Council, is there anything further? Nothing further, then we'll call the vote to adopt the strategies. All in favor? Carried. I see you online, Councillor Van Grede. Thank you. Thank you, staff. What's up, two? Council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 1025, being a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for a strategic plan development advisory ad hoc committee. And further, the council directs staff to redesignate the trail areas on Crown land surrounding Hudson from natural resources to open space during the next official plan review. On the table, moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Timpson, and discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I was actually confused when I read this first time. It sounded like it was a strategic plan for Hudson, when you bring in the recommendation of that land. To presume it, and then when Hudson could have 50% of the membership on this committee, can you clarify that?
Yeah.
To you, Mayor Lawrence. So this is in response to the delegation council received last month from Mr. Brian Islam. So essentially staff's recommendation going forward is that there not be two separate processes going on, a strategic plan and a Hudson strategic plan. We think it's important that this be one overarching document. Again, I think it's important to recognize that this is an ad hoc advisory committee. Council obviously will make all final decisions with respect to the strategic plan. This is one way of getting public input. It won't be the only way. We've already begun with certain initiatives for public engagement. There's a lot more, which if council wishes to hear more about, I will defer to our strategic initiatives manager to speak about that. But the intent is to ensure that there is appropriate representation from the various parts of the community on the committee. The committee also, the terms of reference also provide for the inclusion and invitation of certain subject matter experts. So that opens the door for lots of other people to be involved if the committee deems that's appropriate. And so again, this was staff's way of taking Mr. Hislop's delegation requests, in particular the one about, and I understand that there may have been some confusion because that was a specific requested of Mr. Hislop's presentation with respect to natural resources to open space rezoning in the OP. But in the intent is to ensure that various constituencies are consulted throughout the process. And this ad hoc advisory committee is one of many channels that we'll be using to solicit public input.
Yeah. Just one more question. I'm not totally familiar with what open space means versus natural resources. States that would protect the forest.
To you, Mayor Lawrence. So again, I'm not the expert, and if I go down the wrong path, the development services manager will correct me. But essentially, natural resources means that it's available for harvesting trees. Open space is intended more for recreational purposes, as I understand it. But
Yeah, through Mayor Lawrence, traditionally Crown lands are zoned natural resource for that reason, for mining activity, for aggregate extraction, for forestry harvesting, where open space is more of a private public park kind of idea, like around the area around Cedar Bay is zoned open space to kind of protect the trail systems in the area and prevent forest harvesting in essence. So that's the idea here, is areas around Hudson that I guess are utilized for trail systems and different things like that. We would request from, I mean, ultimately they may say no, but that would be a request at the time of the official plan update to rezone some areas around Hudson open space.
That's your question, Councilor Tibbs?
Yeah, just curious that the ministry designates this, not the municipality.
I think it's
Yes, 3 minutes. So it is the municipality designating it, but ultimately it is ministry land, so they have a say in how it would be designated.
Okay, thanks.
Cedar Bay is Crown land within the municipality as well, right? And they have approved it to be open space.
We may Lawrence, yes. So through the process of zoning and open space, it gets taken off any kind of forestry management plan that they have.
Thank you. Council, anything further? Then I'll call the vote on item 7.2 on the formation of a strategic plan advisory ad hoc committee. All in favor? See you, Councilor Van Breda. Good, carried. Thank you. Item 7.3. Council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 01-25, being a bylaw to delegate the authority to the Chief Administrative Officer to develop, approve, amend, and implement all personnel policies and health and safety policies, subject to applicable legal and legislative requirements. Moved by Councilor Fosco, seconded by Councilor Cassidy. Discussion, starting with Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, I was sort of surprised to see this, given that basically policy is council's responsibility and it's our mandate. Not sort of putting more pressure on the CAO and responsibility when basically the policy falls on the shoulders of the council.
CAO, you're going to take this on?
Sure, thank you, and through you, Mayor Lawrence. Yes, absolutely, Councilor Timpson. The vast majority of the municipalities' policies are approved by council. Everything from the recently adopted in the fall reserve and reserve fund policy to delegation of powers and duties, to a variety of financial policies and administrative policies, from asset management to video surveillance. All these types of things are all within council's realm. The overall rationale for making this recommendation is, in recent years, there has been rapid changes to legislation and regulations with respect to health and safety matters and employment matters under the various legislation that applies to those things. So the idea here is to expedite changes so that we are remaining compliant with legislative responsibilities. Just as a quick example, the municipality's bullying and harassment-free workplace policy is something that is in place. It's meeting the legislative requirements. However, it needs to be reviewed annually. We recently had a visit from the Ministry of Labor, and that annual review wasn't documented. It was done by staff, but it wasn't documented as having come to council. Nothing needed to change, or the changes were minor in nature. So again, what we're trying to do here with health and safety and personnel policies in particular, where the expertise is at the staff level, that council delegate though that authority to ensure that those policies are being updated in a timely and efficient manner. So I guess just to underscore, this is not staff's attempt to usurp council's policymaking authority. There are many realms of policymaking that absolutely sit and fit at the council table. We just thought that with respect to health and safety and personnel, that those things could be delegated to there are lots of changes that are in progress. So this is also a way of attempting to free up some of council's time at upcoming meetings. And many of both the health, safety, and personnel policies do require updating in the next 12 months. So happy to answer any other questions or thoughts on that.
At the health units where I've sat, it was, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we went through something like 140, 150 policies with the idea to cut out ones that did not have to come to the board, because it's a lot of things that are coming to the board where they really do fall under staff purview. And the responsibility on things like health and safety, who is responsible to make sure we're compliant with current legislation?
To you, Mayor Lawrence, primarily it's management and supervisors and management who play a key role in that. Staff also have a role to play. Everyone has a role to play in health and safety. There we go. I'm getting the smile from the HR manager. I said the right words there. Council ultimately has the responsibility to ensure that the municipality is being compliant and so on.
I was hoping it was you, actually.
A large degree of that responsibility, yes.
When I say you, I mean the CAO.
On the CAO's shoulders, yes.
Councilor Boone.
Speaking on health and safety, is there a active committee, health and safety committee, currently working with the municipality, a joint committee, or how are we dealing with health and safety issues?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we have several joint health and safety committees. There's one for each building. So there is one at the rec center, one at the airport, one at the town office, one at Public Works. So every department, well, every building has their own, so that we're making sure we're getting all of the checks and meetings and everything done on the legislative requirements.
So then all these groups meet together on a monthly basis, every 2 months?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, every different building meets once a month within their committee. Every quarter, we've all come together here, not as a joint health and safety committee, but as a health and safety check-in to see how things are going, because we do not have a multi-department health and safety committee. So we do a check-in, make sure everything is good, and discuss anything that needs to be updated or changed, or any training that people need to have, or if any changes are coming, we kind of review everything.
Councilor Thompson.
This is so highly regulated that it really makes sense that this change is made. I mean, it's just really a procedural thing that you're bringing to us, which, like you said, it just makes it very cumbersome. Every time you make a change, you have to come to us. So I'm definitely in favor of this change. I think it makes sense. I think it's something that is so highly regulated that it's not like you could go outside the parameters of anything, so I'm in favor.
I I agree with Councilor Costco, as much as I'm gonna miss reading all those policies and
Yeah.
stuff. I think the regulation on it is all self-explanatory, so I'm good with it.
Any further comment, council?
I'm still not comfortable with it because we're talking health and safety, we're talking human resources, lawsuits, firings and so on. So I don't think it's a great idea, so. State my position.
Good. Any further, council? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? I see you, Councilor Van Breda. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.4. Thank you, staff. The council directs staff to implement a resident and non-resident fee for boat launch permits, and further, council directs staff to implement a 2% increase each year to the resident and non-resident fee to align with council's fee and charges bylaw. Moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Timpson, and discussion, starting with Councilor Lego.
Yeah, basic question. Do we have any information and current information on the percentage of non-resident versus resident that use our boat launches? Like, is it a massive difference?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Unfortunately, the data that we collected this year is not concrete enough. I do have, I don't know, maybe I don't actually have it here. We were trying to collect from the outfitters that were selling for us, like whether they were selling to a camp guest or non-resident, and they kind of got confused with how they were recording that. So again, I don't really have a concrete number to give. Yeah.
And this will be able to work with the system that you're. Okay. No, oh, and one more, just a definition of resident, will that include Lac Sioux First Nation?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we hadn't contemplated that specific opportunity, but if that's what council wishes, if council wishes Black Soul to be included, certainly that can be done. We await council's direction on that.
I would say it sounds like a pretty good idea. Council, can we get a sort of people's a good idea? Councilor Bowman?
Can I get a definition of resident then? Is a resident that's still look out in an area or is it province or?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we had defined residents as an individual living within Sioux Lookout or owning property and paying taxes in the municipality. That's what we had outlined in the report.
Or a member of the Lac Sioux First Nation is what we're going to suggest be added. Council would support that? Council Constable.
In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, considering that we're on traditional land of Lac Sioux, I think that we should be including the residents of Lac Sioux as a resident.
Very good. Councilor Van Breda?
Thank you. I just want to say that what I said during the last meeting about this, I'm just going to echo what I already said. I do think that we need to be cautious about this. You know, I do believe that having a non-resident fee is going to drive the tourists away. We have to do what we can to entice tourists to, again, come up with the Trans-Canada, to come up to Sioux Lookout, to enjoy what we have, because we know that there's hunting and fishing all over northwestern Ontario. So we have to do it. We have to do what we can to entice the tourists to come to Sioux Lookout. So, and again, because there's no concrete number of, you know, is this going to make a lot of money? Is this, you know, because there's not enough data on my end to agree to this. And with this being said, I do not think it's a good idea. I'm a no, and I do ask that this is a recorded vote.
Very good. Thank you. Council, anything further? Councilor Cassidy.
I am okay with this. Considering the fact that the fees actually went down from what they were. And you know, for the non-resident, someone coming from the US with the exchange, you're actually paying less than the resident. So it's it's, you know, for, I think most of our non-residents, you're gonna see a weekly pass purchase. So it's a $6.50 increase or difference there. I think that's okay. I also think that the boat launch program has been subsidized by the taxpayers of this community for a very long time. And I think it's time that that was recognized. This is doing that, and I also recognize that staff were able to refine the numbers better in the last presentation with regards to how the money's allocated. So we are seeing savings in that line item of the budget. So that's your concrete proof that, you know, things are improving within the boat launch program. I think this will be well received. And I'm good with it. So.
Council, anything further? Could I ask you, I don't think there's been a survey of outfitters, but have you had any conversations with outfitters? Do you have any general feel of what they think of these charges to non-residents?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we have had some dialogue with some outfitters. There didn't seem to be any concern from them. I think part of the reason for that is that we aren't proposing to introduce a new fee that's significantly more than last year's fee was. So really for many of the visitors who came last year, who choose to come again in 2025, they're not going to see any kind of difference in what they pay. In 2026, of course, in 2027, there'll be those slight inflationary increases, but the locals will see that as well. I think that it certainly from the perspective of local boat launch users, this will be seen as a bit of a reprieve because the costs of, you know, from 2024 to 2025 will actually be less because of the way we've struck or proposed to structure that non-resident fee. So overall, I think this will be well received by the majority of boat launch users. I can't promise that it'll be 100% well received, but very few things that we do can be. So I do think this is a reasonable, measured, and equitable approach.
Good. Anything further, Council? Would it help if we called it a tariff? I think we have enough information to call the vote. All in favor?
Sorry.
Recorded vote.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Councilor Breda. Go ahead. Thank you.
I'm supposed to say yay or nay.
It's through for the purposes of clarity, let's just say for or against.
Okay.
Just give me one moment here. Okay, Councillor Costco?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Bone?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Van Breda?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy, sorry.
Cassidy, yes.
Four. Thank you. Councillor Lego?
For.
Thank you. Mayor Lawrence?
For.
Thank you. That is 6 votes in favor, 1 against. The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, staff. Move to bylaws then. Bylaw number 01-25 being a bylaw to delegate the authority to the chief administrative officer to develop, approve, amend, and implement all personnel policies and health and safety policies, subject to applicable legal and legislative requirements. Bylaw number 10-25 being a bylaw to create and establish terms of reference for the Strategic Plan Development Advisory Ad Hoc Committee. Bylaw number 18-25 being a bylaw to repeal bylaw number 16-23 being a bylaw to deem 1780 South Shore Drive and 1774 South Shore Drive, municipality of Sioux, not to be on a plan of subdivision. Bylaw number 19-25, being a bylaw to reappoint Aird and Baroness LLP as Integrity Commissioner for the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux for a 3-year term. The bylaws numbers 01-25, 10-25, 18-25, 19-25 be read the first, second, and third time and passed.
There was,
Did I miss something?
yeah, there were two, the reason I know is because there were two on that, deeming. I had, there were two on that. There was the,
Yeah.
rescinding first one and second one. I know because I remember I couldn't get my head around the triple negatives.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Lawrence. So we are essentially we're repealing a deeming bylaw. So the bylaw number 1825 repeals bylaw number 1623.
Right, but then there was a second one was, yeah, there,
It was framed as a repeal first and then a new bylaw, I think.
yeah, there was,
Is that-
and then there's a new one.
Development Services Manager, do you have any insight on that?
No, I actually didn't print that one out. I thought that was.
I remember because it said no longer not deemed not to be lots or not to be plan of subdivision. I just couldn't get my head around the triple negatives.
I would go print the violence.
It's,
Just one moment, I just need to look at the,
it's in the staff report.
yeah, I'm just having a look now. Yes, but bylaw number, okay, so there's bylaw number 1825, which is to repeal the deeming bylaw 1623. You're saying there's another bylaw attached?
Yeah, there were two bylaws on that. Let me just see.
Well, yes, because 1623 was the original bylaw that we're now repealing.
Yeah. Then there was an additional one.
Yeah, that's right. I see a number 5 application. She sees it's the same bylaw, 1623. It's just the repeal deeming bylaw. The application letter, but it just states the same bylaw number twice.
Okay, can you tell me what page that's on?
That's on the report.
He's just looking at the attachments. Just looking at the attachments. Twice.
That's just, yeah. So the letter is there to request the deeming bylaw be rescinded. But there's only one bylaw being passed this evening, and that's to repeal the deeming bylaw from 2023.
That's all we need.
That's all we just need to repeal. Yeah.
Okay.
My apologies for the confusion.
Yeah, that triple negative just threw me.
We were,
We got them all, we just need some text.
this is bylaws, we need to a mover for the bylaws numbers 01-25, 10-25, 18-25, 19-25. Be read first, second, third time and fast. Moved by Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Council reports. Councillor Costco.
I have attended 2 budget meetings. One through Zoom, which I was very grateful that process is in place and it's working such very nicely. I've met with Brad Hislop around the Truth and Reconciliation Museum project. He helped us do the labeling of the items with his knowledge of the pottery, etc. He was very helpful and I'm grateful for his knowledge. I'm also grateful to the rec center, which helped with that project, Megan, and Meredith, and the airport staff. I think some of the maintenance crew at the airport hung the Tikanagan. They also helped us move the cabinet. They stored some of the stuff for us in the interim, so they were very helpful. We appreciate all the help that we got from them. Darlene and Jaconet helped with set up the cabinet, so we moved the cabinet up to the airport, and we used some of the museum artifacts which the rec center provided us with. And we put them in the cabinet, which was labeled by Brad. We still have a few things. We have some signage we have to add and banner, etc. But when we were at the airport, we were just amazed at the people that interacted with us in just the short period of time. Because I think Darlene and I were maybe there for an hour and a half. We probably talked to 70 people during that time, stopping and what's happening, what are these things? And so it was, I think it's going to be well received, and hopefully we'll be able to add. So, that's one of our plans. So I also attended 2 TRC meetings and a committee of adjustment meeting. It's a busy month, even though I managed to squeeze a vacation.
Thank you. Councilor Boone.
Attended a special council meeting February 11th, the budget presentation, also committee of adjustment for a consent application. And I met with various staff throughout the month.
Thank you. Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, apologies for missing January's meeting, but I've been fairly active in that. I attended the Roma conference with Mayor Lawrence and Councillor Van Rita, and we did 3 delegations. One with the long-term care ministry to reaffirm their commitment to long-term care facility here. Met with the Minister of Health. I made a presentation concerning physician coverage in Sioux Lookout, for Sioux Lookout, and the possibility that we be approved for nurse practitioners here. We also discussed the MRI issue, which was later confirmed. I attended 2 environment committee meetings, one the other night, and one of the things we would like to do is to invite the Nuclear Waste Management Organization to come to Sioux Lookout to do an education system presentation for people, because there are so many questions surrounding that, the decision that was made for Ignace to be the host for the repository. And hospital board meeting, and then KDMA attended with Councillor Van Rita, and it was very interesting conference. And it came up the other day, what advocacy are we doing? So I just thought I'd go through very quickly the resolutions that the Kenora District Municipal Association put forward and would be presenting to Northern Ontario Municipal Association. So essentially, additional funding for assisted living in our district, increasing application for costs for firefighters to comply with the requirements, education costs, Barons through the Barons Bridge and Road to assist Red Lake to address the impact of that development. Permanent critical infrastructure funding, sustainable cost-effective funding for the OPP model, to commit to work for AMO to review the funding, sustainable funding formula for municipalities, and there were two to that nation. Support for another municipality who was pushing for sustainable funding, and support for Red Lake to finding a model for restoring resource-based communities to be eligible for a proportion of the resources leaving their community. So it was quite the 2 of the candidates for the provincial election attended. Very very worthwhile to hear their positions. And so it was very productive, I felt. I recommend that people go to these conferences because that's where you can meet our representatives, you meet other people, you bond, you get these kinds of advocacy out there to the government. Okay, and that was pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Breda.
Thank you. Attended two of the budget meetings and then attended the Roma conference with Mayor Lawrence and Councillor Timpson. So we had, again, just to repeat, we had 3 delegations and I had my first delegation with the Ministry of Long-Term Care. So that was with Minister Paul Calandra. So I guess I could come back and say that in the government's perspective, the long-term care project is a go. And we went there to ask that this not be put on the back burner and to implore that this is very much needed in Sioux Lookout, not just for the town of Sioux Lookout, but for the entire Northwest as well. Attended the KDMA conference a couple of weeks ago in Ear Falls. That went really well. And it's good to get, I think that KDMA, in my opinion, is the most important conference. It is the one that's closest to Sioux Lookout. It's just in the Kenora district. That's the one that I feel that we get more bang for our buck. And to also echo what Councillor Timpson said, going to these conferences are very, very important. Advocacy is part of our job. And if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And I want to make sure that Sioux Lookout, we're at the table for every problem in the North, every issue that involves us in some way, shape, or form. We need to be at the table. Because again, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And attended the TRC committee earlier this week. And that's really about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy.
Just for myself, the budget meetings. And PACE last night. No new applications, but we are doing some training, so board level training for oversight and stuff like that, I think it's something good that they have available to offer all the board members. And then hydro tomorrow. So
Councillor Layton.
Yeah, just do 2 budget meetings. LCC meeting was on the same night as the budget meeting, so I missed that one. That was it.
Thank you. Various meetings with the esteemed CAO on various topics. We had the Northwestern Health Unit Alpha, it's actually the Alpha Association of Local Public Health Agencies of Ontario Symposium, Winter Symposium last week, which was two half days and a full day. Good speakers, and AMO did an update on their homelessness report, which was good. I was a panelist on one of the presentations on governance of public health units. Special council meetings, KDSB governance committee meetings. I attended as a audience member, let's say, on the AMO sector-wide report on tariffs and just do status update on tariffs. Attended at the Seniors Activity Center with Henry Wolf from KDSB, a seniors housing group meeting. And at that meeting, I hope it becomes official tomorrow at the KDSB board meeting, but Henry said publicly there is a seniors housing project coming to Sioux Lookout, and I hope that decision is finalized tomorrow when I go to the board meeting in Dryden. Ontario Association of Police Services Board had a zone meeting that attended. Eric Malillo, met with him. MRI was a photo op at the hospital for the MRI, which seems to that's underway. I mean, there's some good things happening with the MRI, with long-term care, and a few other things. KDSP board meetings, attended the Roma conference, and I will not report any further on what we did there. Councilors have done that. That's great. and various media interviews with the Bulletin and NWO News on topics including the budget and land ambulance. That's one. And that brings us to a confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw number 14-25 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipality of Sioux Code, February 19th, 2025 regular council meeting be read first, second, third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. And that brings us to adjournment. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.